it's 1, 2, 3 strikes, you're out at the old ball game. Take me out to the ball game. Take me out with the crowd. Buy me some peanuts and Cracker Jacks. I don't care if I ever get back. Let me root for the home team. If they don't win, it's a shame. For it's 1, 2, 3 strikes, you're out at the old ball game.
Welcome to Let's Get To, the baseball show from the fan's perspective.
So we are excited to be out at Constellation Field. Now look, you guys that have been following the show since the beginning know we are good friends with the Sugarland Skeeters. We've been to Constellation Field almost as much as we've been to Round Rock, and Lord knows we've been to Round Rock. But today's a little different. There's a different vibe in the air because today is the first time that the Sugarland Skeeters are going to take the field as a AAA ball club. We can't be more excited, and what's kind of neat is there is a vibe in the crowd about all of this. They've got a Cajun-style band going. There are lines of people out front. We got a great show coming to you. We're going to see a whole lot from Constellation Field and the Sugarland Skeeters. We're going to be checking out the St. Paul Saints, another indie team that got elevated to the affiliated leagues. We've got interviews, we've got merch, we've got a whole lot going on, so stay with us.
On deck, the Let's Get To interview.
We are super excited to welcome Let's Get To. We've got Chris Fryar from Alexander Global Promotions. Chris, first of all, how you doing, man? How's it going?
Doing really good, Jim. Thanks. Just working on a ton of projects right now with baseball starting back up. Things are good. Starting to get some stuff rolling for hockey, for basketball, for college. So we are ready. It's been a long time coming back, but we're ready to roll.
I tell you what, one of my favorite things to hear is to the first 1,000 fans or the first 10,000 fans. That's like the best thing to see because you know it's back. I want to talk a little bit about you guys and the bobblehead. So you were behind a lot of what I think people really associate, particularly baseball. And when you're talking about this show, particularly minor league baseball, talk to me a little bit about the Willie Mays bobblehead that kind of started the whole thing. There it is.
This one right here. Yeah, this is the one that started this whole craze. Now it predated me. I was working in the NBA actually during the time that the bobblehead craze kind of was reinvigorated, or actually was created as far as a promotional product. So there we go. So the story that I've learned is Alexander Global. I'm now one of the co-owners of the company, but Malcolm Alexander was in sports promotions back in 1996. He started Alexander Global Promotions, and he had a meeting with the San Francisco Giants in '99. And they were closing out their ballpark, and they were looking for some big promo item. And back in the 50s and 60s, there were these kind of paper mache / other porcelain type bobbling. They didn't call them bobbleheads, but nodders or different names. They had Willie Mays and Mickey Mantle and a few others, Hank Aaron, I think. And they asked Malcolm if he could make one of these dolls of Willie Mays to close out Candlestick. And he said, absolutely, I can do it. From what I heard, he left the meeting. He had no idea what to do next. He hopped on a plane to China, to one of the factories that he had worked with, showed him this thing, and they came up with a prototype, and they went through some tweaks, and basically they came out with the, this is kind of the style back then that if you see all the players, they all have the basic same chubby body style. The likeness is, it's there, but it's not quite there like we do nowadays. But this set off the craze. And I remember working in the NBA at the time, hearing about these bobbleheads, and we had them in the Seattle Supersonics too. We had a series, and we had lines down the block, around the block. The news crews were there. And if you recall, that went on for several years. And now it's just ingrained in all the sports and throughout corporate. I think it's the number one promotional craze that's still out there, and it's 20 years strong. And I don't see it going away.
Yeah, and it's funny because it's like all levels of, particularly baseball, all levels of baseball are doing them. Talk to me a little about the creative process though. Like, what is that like for y'all to create something new? And I know you do a lot of stuff that ties into like existing brands, like a Star Wars thing or Game of Thrones. How's that creative process work?
Basically a team will come to us with hopefully an idea of what they're looking to do. To me, the best type of bobblehead you can do is either capturing a moment in time, a memory moment in time, like a catch or a hit or pointing to the sky, as opposed to just a player standing there. But if a team can come up with some sort of creative idea or an emotion they're trying to bring out with this type of item, that allows us to go into more of the creative mold of, here's some concepts, and then together we come up with the item. Of course, the theme nights, the Star Wars nights, Game of Thrones, Harry Potter, the Sandlot, we've done all of them. But I actually like the traditional, creating a memory in time, moment in time off of a special play or a moment for the team. Those are my favorites.
I wanted to ask about turnaround. So long story short, I'm actually in the independent film business. And so usually idea to when it gets finished, it's a 3-year process. I remember a few years ago, Colin McHugh of the Astros at the time basically did a matrix dodge of a ball that went between his glove and his chin. And there was a bobblehead of it like 2 months later. It was impressive as heck. How long does it usually take to get something created and then kind of mass produced, ready for the ballpark?
Sure. We like to tell clients it's going to take about 20 weeks. Okay. Now, there's a little bit of fudging time there, and where we usually see the most delays would be on the creative process. So we'll get an idea, we'll create it. It'll take 2 weeks maybe to mold it with our artists, get it back to the client, and depending on the client and how many changes they want, that's where it can go from 2 weeks to 3 months on the front end. But once we get into an approval process, it's going to take about 30 to 45 days to make all the dolls. And then it's going to go into the paint process. So the dolls need to dry, paint. That's going to take some time. And then we have to package them. And then we have to put them on a boat and then get them to the States and then ship them or ground freight them or rail them across the country. So it's about 20 weeks. And plus or minus 2 to 4 weeks in there. Yeah. Right now we're running into a lot of the container issues across the world. So, teams are, we try to be conservative and try to plan more time. I know that's frustrating sometimes to the teams because they want something the next month if they can, but we don't like to disappoint. We like to hit event dates. So there's all sorts of factors, weather, things like that once they do land in the States, sometimes it gets delayed, but it's about 20 weeks. There's not a lot of shrinking that time down just because the process, they are all hand painted. So that's where it really slows things down.
Oh, I imagine so. Wow, that's interesting. Now, besides bobbleheads, what else do you guys into? I mean, it seems like promotions are getting more and more interesting as we kind of go forward.
Yeah, we do all sorts of things with the same type of materials that we do bobbleheads. It's a poly resin type of material. We do all sorts of things for hockey, the Zamboni.
Oh, is that a Zamboni? That's so cool.
Yeah. We have a licensing agreement with Zamboni Company. So we actually do the Zambonis. Those are really cool. We've been doing a lot more of the replica stadiums.
Is that the dome?
Super cool. This is for the Ohio Bobcats. This is not the dome, but it is a dome, and we could certainly do the Astrodome.
I don't know if you can see behind me, but I'm a bit of an Astros fan. So
yeah. We could do the Bad News Bears playing at the Astrodome.
That's so cool.
But we do snow globes and all sorts of things. We do larger size bobbleheads. Here's a Griffey. This is a 14-inch Griffey.
Man.
The largest one we've done was a 8-foot 9-inch Kareem Abdul-Jabbar doing a skyhook that helped open up the Fiserv arena out in Milwaukee.
I wanted to ask you a little bit about COVID in the lost season. As someone who's sort of very aware of or very involved in sports, and also therefore fans being able to go, what was that experience like for you guys, sort of dealing with that, particularly where I'm sure you had some orders that never got filled. I'm sure you had orders that got filled and then sat on a dock or never got delivered. How was all that?
It was all across the board. First of all, we bought the company. My business partner and I, who were employees of the company, we bought the company in January of 2020, and then COVID hit. So
Chris,
it's been quite a year. Yeah, quite a year. The first thing we did is we reached out to the customers, and we wanted to find out immediately, are they suspending operations? Do we need to put projects on hold? Are they canceling? What we really wanted to try to avoid is customers just bailing out and canceling. We wanted to be an advocate for them and be a partner with them. And we wanted to let them know, hey, if we have a project ongoing right now, we can put it on hold. We can have it on the shelf. So whenever the season comes back to life or next year, we can bring it off the shelf. We can credit that amount back on your account, and we can go ahead and start the process. And it won't take 20 weeks. It'll take 12 weeks.
Sure.
So we had a lot of customers take advantage of that. A lot of orders were shipped out. They've been sitting at stadiums and ballparks and arenas for 10 months. They're starting to go out now. So we don't have a lot of new business with accounts that had all their orders filled last year. And then of course we did have some that, teams just went out of business. They weren't sure. Their league folded. They were not, part of they were part of the contraction. So we really wanted to work with our partners and try to come up with a solution that worked best for them and for us, as opposed to both of us losing.
What is your biggest client base from? Is it baseball? Is it basketball? Is it hockey? It seems like minor league hockey is getting just as big as minor league baseball to some degree.
Yeah, baseball. We started out in baseball. Baseball continues to be our largest customer base, majors as well as minor league baseball. We have a really strong hold in minor league baseball. A lot of really deep, long partnerships there, and we're starting to really make some headway with a lot of the newer teams, which has been really fun.
Mm-hmm.
Hockey is not too distant second. Hockey is really, really coming up quick. They're really, I think, embracing the minor league baseball model a lot more, and their promotions are getting to be on par with baseball. Very creative, a lot of fun people in hockey, and basketball continues to be one we do work with as well. WNBA, lacrosse, rugby. We're doing some soccer stuff. So it's been a lot of fun. We definitely want to embrace these smaller leagues as well and give them an opportunity to get in on some of these major league promotions and come up with something that can fit their budgets as well.
How cool is it knowing that, you created a piece of art, and that's what it is. It's art. That for some people is going to be really a ticket in memory. Like it's going to be something they're going to look at and they're going to pass down and be like, that was the moment in time. How cool is that for you?
It's really cool. In fact, I used to work for the Seattle Supersonics, who are no longer. And this was one of my favorite bobbleheads from that time. This was the mascot Squatch. And it was not made by Alexander Global, but it continues to be just a memory for me. And I know that people who have been collecting and love bobbleheads, hopefully they have one or two that, just when they see it, they hold it. It just takes them exactly back to that moment in time when they were there with their, loved one, or they fell in love with baseball for the first time, or found their first favorite player. I imagine there's tons of kids out there that their favorite player was probably the first bobblehead they got.
Right.
Because that was their first connection, right? It actually went home. That player went home with them. It went on their bedside stand. Then it went to college, and now it's sitting, in their child's bedroom or in their office or something like that. So, and then also the bobbleheads, what a tremendous value. Like I said, I came from the business side of sports on the team side, and for a sponsor to put a sponsor logo on a bobblehead that sits and moves along in the community with the person who holds it, what a great value as well. So I think it's a win-win for the fans, the teams, the players, the sponsors. It's just such a great item.
And I guess last question, everybody's going to ask me, what is your favorite bobblehead on the outside of Squatch? Now that you just showed us that one, but what is your favorite bobblehead that you guys have done in your with the company?
You know what? There are so many of them. Every year I fall in love with a new one, I guess. The one that I really love is the creativity we did with the Devils. So this is David Putty.
It's oh my God, that's great.
And it looks exactly like Putty.
It looks great.
I mean, I had this as my profile picture on my Outlook for a while, and I started getting too many weird comments like, why did you paint your face? And so I realized it was too lifelike, because this was being confused for me. But this was a great one. You know, depending on where, it doesn't matter where you are at, I guess, on the side of the aisle. But we made this Trump that has been pretty popular. That was fun. Just creating the Terminator element here. I mean, there's so many of them. I can't pick one. I'm sorry.
Yeah.
The vintage, you know, more of the vintage Mickey Mantle here with the bats and the crown. Too. Yeah. There's a lot of them.
Who's on first? The Let's Get To Local 9, brought to you by Zoomer Sport.
So we are excited to be joined by one of my favorite brands in Collegiate Summer League, the Spearfish Sasquatch. We've got Eric Schmidt, the owner GM of the Sasquatch, and new play-by-play voice, wearing a familiar logo on his chest, to me at least, Cameron Parker. Gentlemen, Eric, first of all, how are you guys doing today?
We're good. The weather's finally turning up here in Spearfish, and it's, I don't know, we're 8 days away from opening night, so it's getting exciting.
8 days. And then Cameron, when are you heading up there? Because you are like 30 minutes from me right now. When do you head up?
Yeah, so the plan is to head up Wednesday. It's about a 19-hour drive from Austin, Texas. So I'm thinking of stopping over in probably Nebraska and then getting in there about Thursday night.
Nice. I want to start at the beginning, though. Eric, starting with you. How did you fall in love with baseball so much that you got into it and now have devoted a chunk of your life to running a collegiate summer league team?
Yeah, I grew up playing. I gave it up when I got to high school because I needed to make some money and work in the cornfields of Iowa, but was always in love with the game, just as a fan and a player. And the Cubs were my team. WGN, you know, brought them into my living room every day. And I've been an avid fan ever since I can remember.
I got to ask, because you guys have, so you guys have a brand made for social media, right? Like whenever I had you on the show, I had so many people DMing me like, who are these guys? Or when I featured just your cap, actually, it was just the hat. The branding for that, how did that work out? How did you guys fall into that? Because it's a great look, and I think people are going to have a blast.
Yeah. So I wasn't an original owner of the team. I was originally hired as a general manager, and the original owners actually came up with the team name and the concept. And you kind of hit it right on the head. The whole point of it was about the marketability of it. We knew it could get to the masses, right? It's not just going to be a local flavor. The Sasquatch, it's kind of a viral thing right now. There's so many things to play off of it. You have soaps, you have Sasquatch festivals, you have all these TV shows. And it was just something they were super smart about when they picked this name, that, you know, we could sell merchandise all over the country to people who have no clue where Spearfish is, don't like baseball. It just appeals to way more people, right?
Absolutely. And I've already started to figure out if I can't squeeze a trip in this year, or I'm definitely coming in 2022. Cam, return to you. So you are a Texan. You are also a graduate of the University of Texas with the RTF program. Is that what you're from, or journalism?
Journalism.
Okay. Play-by-play is so key to baseball. You know, the famous quote is, it's the game you can see on the radio kind of deal. How much, or who are you influenced by, and how many times can you mention Craig Way's name, as again, both of us being Longhorns, and maybe he's the best, one of the best to ever do it?
Yeah, Craig Way, he's a great guy. I've been fortunate to kind of get to know him a little bit over the past 2 years being at UT and, being around him. And yeah, I always kind of think of, you can say goodnight to this one. That's a call that I'm sure the two of us have heard so many times in our life, but he's such a big, influence on myself just growing up listening to the Texas games. Originally, I was born in Charlotte. I kind of grew up in Austin, but I did all of my public education in North Carolina before coming to Texas. So I had to listen to the radio a lot. And of course, Craig Way, that's how I listened to most Texas games if they weren't playing on primetime television. We didn't have ESPN Plus, 5-10 years ago when I was in school. So Craig Way was a big part of that. And just a bunch of other guys. Joe Buck, he's one of my favorites. He gets a lot of flack for reasons I don't understand, but I love Joe Buck. Besides the Game 6 call, Rangers and Cardinals, I'm a Rangers fan, so that's a tough one to stomach. But I love that call, and but yeah.
So I got to ask, Eric. You guys are hiring a new voice play-by-play person. You always, when you pick a Longhorn, you can't go wrong. But how important is that, even at the Collegiate Summer League, to have a voice for your team on the radio?
I think it's super important. And especially it's fun to bring in, these interns, right, that are really trying to build a resume and that kind of thing, and get them to connect with our fan base. We're such a small community here that the fan base really connects with, our broadcaster. The crow's nest is 6 feet above where they're sitting, and they'll, talk in the game to them and say, what do you think about this and that kind of thing. So it's just to have that consistency on the road as well. So when they tune into a Sasquatch game, when we're out of town, they can listen to that homer, if you will, even though we don't want to, brag too much about us, but you know what I mean? Just to have that consistent voice that knows our guys and our players and can tell us a little more in detail about what's been going on the last week with this hitter or that pitcher. I think it's super important.
Cameron, how much work are you going to put into to get to know the guys? I mean, one of the best things about baseball is, and I think to your point about Joe Buck, I think part of the issue isn't Joe Buck. It's the idea of having sort of a color guy who also doesn't know the team. And so all you can talk about is, for the Astros perspective, how old Juan Soto is. Like, we get it. He's 19. They didn't need that 7 times, particularly how that game ended. But how important is it then to get to know everybody and really get to be able to tell those stories that keep us listening 50 games into a season?
Yeah, I think the best part of being able to call games is to be able to tell a story. And it's so helpful, to know the story of everyone else on the team. For instance, I just wrapped up my season with the Elgin High School baseball team. And high school is a little bit different. It's not like, the team they're playing, who's on the roster, where they're from. A lot of times you're getting the lineup and the roster, 5-10 minutes before the actual first pitch. So it's kind of tough to kind of get to know the other team. And being in a league, this is my first time being in a professional league where I'm going to be able to connect with other broadcasters and have stats and box scores and rosters to know where they came from, what school, what their favorite hobby is, which is huge. And being able to tell the story of Elgin baseball. Elgin's a great community just outside of Austin, Texas. I'm sure you're familiar with it. And
the sausage,
great sausage. And they were rocked hard by 2 students who were unfortunately had their lives ended early. And it was a big part of the season, but being able to be with the team from game 1 and just tell the story of all the players and their run to the playoffs. They made it to the second round of the UIL state playoffs, which is a great story. They had a great team. And like you said, it's a big part to me. I think to other people, especially when they watch national broadcasts, these national announcers, they're going from, New York to California to San Diego to Houston in a matter of weeks. So they don't get to really know all the players as well because they're on the road so much. But when you're with the team day in and day out, like I will be with Spearfish, I'll be able to get so much closer to these players. And I think that's a key cog in getting to know the team and also telling the story from game 1 to game 64.
Eric, you mentioned several times, you've mentioned the community that you're part of, Spearfish, South Dakota, small community. How important are the Sasquatch to them, and how important are they to you guys? How's that relationship?
Well, first and foremost, we couldn't do what we do without our community. host families and our sponsors and advertisers are the lifeblood of any collegiate summer league, really. If these people wouldn't open up their homes to our players and our coaches and our interns like Cameron, we couldn't do it. So they've really bought in. We're going into our third season, our fourth year, and we're still trending up. Our attendance is going to be better than ever this year, and it's just exciting. Spearfish hasn't had anything like this at this level before outside of our local university, so it's a lot different than anything we've ever had. So there's an education process, right, of just getting everybody to come to one game and see that it's not just baseball. There's a whole other side to what we do. And so that's really what our focus is, hey, you haven't been to a game, come to the first one on me. I know you're going to have a good time and you're going to come back many more. So right now we're in that education phase.
The education phase is key. You know, I mentioned on the show a lot, I get mocked by people who regularly listen, that I grew up in Houston at the Astrodome. I didn't understand minor league baseball until I married a girl who was a San Antonio Missions fan. So I didn't know, and now I'm so in love with it. It's what I spend all my time and money and time on. So yeah, you definitely have to educate people, and I got to imagine they're fired up to have it back.
Yeah, the response from everybody has been great. You know, missing last season was tough, but we were able to get through it, and just being out and about. You know, my wife always makes fun of me because I have a wrapped Sasquatch car. I wear Sasquatch gear. I'm a walking, talking billboard, right? Yeah. And the reason I do that's because people come up to you and ask you about how things are going, and they stay interested, whether it's November, March, or in the middle of the season. They want to know how the team's doing, and it's super important for me to just be that voice.
I wanted to ask you, Cameron, too, how did you even find the gig? And I think it's great because I actually met a young woman named Bailey. She was an intern at a Bismarck Larks game, graduate of OSU from Dallas, Texas. So it's random and how small the country gets. How did you find the gig in the first place?
Yeah, so the listing for this job was one of the first that came up. I believe it was September, maybe October. I'm not sure if you remember, Eric, but it's one of the first ones that were posted. And my goal was to end up doing baseball this summer because it's a great way to kind of get your foot in the door in the business and be able to travel with the team. And so really it just worked out. They were one of the first teams that posted it. I think they were the first team I applied to. And fortunately, Eric got back to me pretty quick and it worked out.
I'm so excited for you. I'm excited for you, Eric. So, you know, as we kind of get ready to close out, a couple of things. One, what can we look forward to at the ballpark? What kind of stuff do you guys have going on, promotions, that sort of thing?
Yeah, I mean, typical minor league style stuff. We're going to have, you know, somebody's going to win 10 grand if a Sasquatch hits a grand slam in the 8th inning. You know, you never know if you could be leaving with 10 grand at night.
Could that be me?
Yeah, it could be you. It's
do the interns count?
Yeah, we like to do fun, you know, promos like that. And every night's going to have a theme. You know, we have our country night, our Bark in the Park night, ladies night, where, you know, we're going to have some fun things planned. And one of the most fun every year is Mr. Sasquatch night, where we actually have a pageant that goes on between all the innings to crown Mr. Sasquatch every year. So you can imagine what Mr. Sasquatch would look like in your head. That's probably what he looks like in real life. So that's always a really fun night at the ballpark. But yeah, we just all about fun, having fun with our mascot, and really we just want people's head on a swivel. You know, baseball is the ultimate social sport. You can watch a pitch, talk to your buddy, look over here, watch a pitch, do it all night long and not miss anything. You don't have to be glued to it for 3 hours. So that's what we want. Just head on a swivel all night, checking out everything we have to offer.
Cameron, anytime I have somebody that's a play-by-play person on, Emma Tiedemann, who is the voice of the Portland Sea Dogs, I asked her this several times as well. When you get into a situation, last couple outs of a no-hitter, potential for a walk-off. How much of your call is prepared versus how much of it is it just going to be the moment and you're going to let the moment go where you want it to go? Like, does Craig plan say goodnight to this one, or is that just what comes out by mistake every time?
Oh, that's a good question for him. I think because it's his tagline, I think he prepares it for a really big moment. For myself, it's funny you asked. Just recently, I had a couple no-hitters kind of go far into high school. Of course, it's just 7 innings, so the 6th inning, and unfortunately, all were broken up right before. But you kind of have an idea. You start to think in your head, okay, what do I want to say in this scenario? If it's like a walk-off or it's a hit, you kind of have it planned for if it's going to be in like an infield single or into the outfield, or if it's a home run. That's the way I work. I think some guys, it just comes to them in the moment, but it really just depends.
Well, I hope you have very many walk-offs and no-hitters this season. Last question for both of you, and we're going to start with Cameron, and then we'll go to Eric. But it's the same question for both. Cameron, this is a first for you. This is a big deal. Eric, you talked about, like everybody else, not having baseball last year. So it's been, I'm guessing, somewhere in the 600-day range since you've had a game. Mm-hmm. What are you guys both most looking forward to getting back on the ballpark next week when you start?
For me, I'm just really excited to work. A lot of people have been asking me over the last couple of weeks, are you nervous? Are you excited? And honestly, it's a little bit of both, but like I'm just really excited to kind of get with the team and just be a part of an organization like the Spearfish Sasquatch and be able to work with them, every day for a whole summer. It's going to be a great experience, and I can't wait to get up there. I've been counting down the days for a long time.
Eric, how about you?
Yeah. For me, I've been asked this question a lot too. What do I look forward to most? It's very simple. It's to see fans at the ballpark, to see familiar faces, to see smiles, to see people eating hot dogs and drinking a beer, and just having a good time. Like I miss that so much, and that's why I do what I do. I do it for our community and to give, our small town of 10,000 people a family-friendly option 32 nights every summer. I mean, that's what I miss, and I can't wait to get back to it.
Who's on first? The Let's Get To Local 9, brought to you by Zoomer Sport.
All right, so we are super excited to welcome the Let's Get To, the assistant GM of the Lansing Lugnuts. And before we introduce you, Zach, I got to say, a couple of years ago, the Lugnuts had a Burt Reynolds Trans Am jersey.
Yeah.
You got to, yeah. If you've got one of those hanging out underneath the desk or whatever, I'm going to send you. Zach, how's it going?
Good. No, I appreciate you having me on. We might be able to find one of those lying around. I know that was a big popular night for us, but actually with the bobbleheads and the jerseys and everything, it rained pretty bad that night from my understanding. So we might have some of that stuff laying around.
Just saying. Talk to me a little bit about you, man, because it's funny because we started talking about you coming on when you were with the Johnson City Doughboys, and now you've moved to Lansing. So clearly it's a career in motion, but a little bit, how did you get involved in baseball, interested in the first place, and then working for now the Lugnuts?
Yeah. So I grew up around the game, grew up around sports. I'm from a really small town in Michigan. It's called Dansville, Michigan. Just one of those towns. We don't even have a stoplight. So can't even call it a one stoplight town. If you blink, you miss it. Always loved sports, always was involved with sport. And in Dansville, we were fortunate enough to, if you wanted to play the sport, you could play. If you wanted to play football, baseball, basketball, we had opportunities because our school was so small. That's not to say that we didn't have good athletes or anything like that. It just, we just had opportunities for kids, the football team. If you played on the football team, you played both ways just because, we carried like 18 kids, we didn't have enough to go two ways and things like that. So was always, always around sports, was always, obsessed with it. Kind of as when I was a kid, I really liked football, and then I got into basketball. And as I got older, I realized that baseball was kind of my thing. So I gravitated towards baseball and became really, passionate about it, as most people are, especially probably your viewership. But ended up going and playing a little bit of college ball at the D3 level. Nothing to write home about. But when I went down, I went to Trine University in Angola, Indiana. And when I got down there, to me, baseball had changed. It stopped being fun for me at the collegiate level.
Right.
So I just didn't want to play anymore. And I think, eventually, whether we're a Hall of Famer or, stop playing in T-ball, we all stop playing the game at some point. And, I felt really fortunate to have made it to the collegiate level and gave it a shot, but it stopped being fun. So I transferred to Central Michigan, and really, at the time I was going to school to be a history teacher, really so that I could coach baseball. What's the best way to get a coaching gig, sort of a thing. And decided I really didn't want to teach. And I didn't know, I knew I wanted to stay involved with the game, and I knew nothing about sport management at the time. But Central had a really good sport management program. So I started doing some research and was listening to the Dan Patrick show one day. And I thought I would, hey, this sounds pretty cool. I'll just be the next Dan Patrick. So I went in, I marched into the academic advisor's office at CMU and told him I had a new plan. He laughed me out of his office and told me to come back the next day with a better plan. And so I did my research and found out about sport management and kind of what all you could do there. And I was like, hey, this is a great way to, stay involved with the game, be around it. And so I jumped into sport management and kind of just started volunteering a lot of sporting events and networking and just trying to reach out to as many people as I could in the industry, and did an internship in baseball, and really felt like, though I'm not playing the game anymore, I could still really impact the game and the communities that we're in. So yeah, that's kind of how I got started in it.
And it's been your wheelhouse because you've been like executive of the year in the Appy League. I mean, how satisfying is it for you to come to work every day?
Yeah, man. I mean, that's the craziest thing. It's like not very many people get to go and have their office be, a baseball stadium. So that, the executive of the year stuff. I mean, we won organization of the year and promo calendar of the year, and we had the female executive of the year. I mean, the newspaper around Johnson City was always, giving us like, best in family entertainment and things like that. And, that stuff, it's because, with baseball, you can be so creative and you can have so much fun with it. A lot of times when I talk to a lot of students about what I do, so maybe they'll want to join sport management and things like that. And there's a lot of people who don't work in sports. There's a misconception out there that, what we do is really heavily involved with the player aspect, and we deal with the players a lot and things like that. But that's not necessarily the case. We're more kind of the brains of the operation, if you will. So we're the ones that get to come up with the promotions and, try to get people to come to the stadium, and, having that creativity, the flexibility to try things. And, we do stuff every night at ballparks that don't work. But you don't know if you don't try, Yeah. Who would have thought that, bobbleheads would have caught on the way that they have. But I mean, they're, the bobblehead is unbelievable. Fireworks. I mean, you put a fireworks show on a game day and people are going to come in droves. And, for us, on our side, we're like, oh, fireworks, we got to pick up the shells now. It's like, it kind of ruins it a little bit. But, so all that fun, all those great awards and all that fun stuff. I mean, it's just because, you bring a passion to it and you bring an energy to it that, hopefully is creative and different, and people take notice. And, we got very lucky and very fortunate that people saw us as, being the best of the best in the Appalachian League for a couple of years. And, that was so, so much fun to be a part of that.
And now you're back in your home state. Before we get to 2020, 2021 and that stuff, what was it like? Now you're home pretty much. Was that always the goal, was to try to get back close to home?
Yeah. So when that advisor, Professor Adler, he's a dear friend of mine now, very close with him still. But when he laughed me out of his office that one day, when I told him I was going to be Dan Patrick, I came into his office the next day with a plan. And that plan was to eventually be the GM of Lansing Lugnuts. And that conversation was very interesting because he kind of perked up a little bit, but and he realized that I was going to take it seriously, but he also was like, look, there's 160 minor league teams across the country. There's only one Lansing Lugnuts. There's only one general manager at the Lansing Lugnuts. This is not a likely thing. You have to, the stars have to align just right for you to work your way up to be, a GM in minor league baseball. And then the GM for the Lugnuts has to leave. And then you have to get that job out of a
Right.
Like open it up a little bit. Just say you want to be a GM in minor league baseball. And of course, that wasn't good enough for me. I wanted to be the GM of the Lansing Lugnuts. That was what I wanted to do. So me being stubborn the way that I am, I refused to change my plan. I said, I'm going to do this. This is what I want to do. So, and for me, that was just because this is all, everything we do, everything I do, everything that I try to get our team to realize, it's about community. It's about family, bringing people together and, enjoying the game through that lens. So I wanted to do it in my hometown. I wanted to do it in the ballpark that I grew up in. I grew up a Tigers fan, but I went to probably 5-1 more Lugnuts games than Tigers games, maybe more. So that's what, that's where that came from. So getting the opportunity, opening day here was incredible. We were at 20% capacity. Everything we had gone through since, COVID had started, and moving up here, my fiance and I, going through that whole transition and buying a house. You name it. There was definitely 2 or 3 moments where I was just looking around the stadium, just choked up, because it was like, I can't believe.
I wanted to ask you about that, because we were at the Round Rock Express opening. It had been 601 days, and they did this beautiful video, and I looked over, and my wife's just got tears just streaming down her cheeks. What was that first game? You guys won 8-1, and I'm imagining the score wasn't the most important part.
No, the emotions were raw that night. And it was, it was everybody. And I was, we were 611 days here since there had been baseball. And, I'm dealing, with my emotions the best that I can, because first of all, I'm finally back in Lansing. I'm in my hometown, and, I'm the assistant GM. I'm one step away from everything I said I was going to be when I was 19. And, that whole thing coming to fruition. And then you factor that into it, the 611 days without having baseball, and what this means to the community, and fighting through the adversity, and only having 20%, all that stuff. It was really hard to not get choked up and to not be, emotional about, that journey and where we had been. And then, on top of that, the whole Lansing thing for me, it was crazy. It was probably the most memorable night, that I'll have in my career when it comes to baseball, because it's just everything that went into it is crazy.
I feel like you're as good a person to ask about this question as anyone. Minor league baseball went through a lot, not just the COVID and the pandemic, but also contraction. And I'll be honest, we were on the show. We were some of the first ones to talk about it. We painted a pretty gloomy picture. Did Major League Baseball do pretty much right by what they said they were going to do? Do you feel like at the end of the day, the landscape maybe is better than it was going into it? Or are you worried?
I'm glad you asked me that question, because honestly, when this all started, I'm a very passionate guy, very, very emotional. Whether the highs are high, I don't want to say the lows are lows. I'm a very up guy, but I'm very, very emotional. Kind of the, if we go back to the high school sports thing, kind of the fiery guy in the locker room, always running my mouth, always trying to get people up. And when something aggravates me or makes me upset, it's the same thing, and when this all started, I was the one, pounding the gavel, like, this is not right. They are doing us dirty. We've got to do something, on and on and on. We were at a league meeting in Bristol with the Appalachian League when all this was going down, and it was still kind of behind the scenes. Like, the public really hadn't found out about it yet. And there was a lot of doom and gloom in the room. And I can't remember who it was, but somebody had brought up the fact that we needed to go back to Major League Baseball and basically ask them to save us. And I was like, absolutely not. No way. Forget those guys. We don't need them. We'll do something, and I'm like, here I am in this room, the youngest guy in the room by far, being like, no, absolutely not. Forget them. We don't want anything to do with those guys. To then seeing what the Appalachian League became and what it is now, and being like, I take back everything I said. I'm so I was wrong. I was completely wrong. I had to just completely eat that one. And I've been very vocal about that to the people that I've talked to, because Major League Baseball really has tried their best. They had a vision. They knew what they wanted.
Right.
They knew it wasn't going to be easy. They were dealing at that time. They were going through the Houston Astros thing with the scandal.
Oh,
so,
there was a scandal.
Oh no, I don't know. I mean, I see the Astros stuff in the background. I don't know if you heard about it.
I
Blissfully, I can tell you about it later. Yeah, I'll tell you about it later. But so at that time, it was like, man, I don't know if baseball really wants to eliminate these teams and the Houston Astros thing. Like, it's just bad timing. And then, at that time, January, February, you were hearing rumors of this like disease spreading across China, right? And you're just like, is this going to come over here? And what's going to happen? And then, of course, it does. And it just, the whole thing, it was just incredible to deal with and watch happen and watch it unfold. But yeah, so to get back to your question, I was the first guy to be like, man, those guys are terrible, what they're doing to us, blah, blah. And then now it's just like, wow, this is the Appalachian League is in such a better place than what it was.
It seems like they seems like from a distance, and obviously we're going to be doing a lot of covering them later this year, but they were definitely the ones, I think, that embraced the change in the most healthy manner. And they came out of it, I think, from a branding perspective, probably the best top to bottom league.
Yeah, I mean, absolutely. I mean, the way USA Baseball and Major League Baseball have embraced the Appalachian League and what all it's going to be, the Appalachian League is let's be honest, the Appalachian League used to be the redheaded stepchild of minor league baseball. Yeah. I mean, it really did. And now it's like the spotlight of the collegiate wood bat circuit. And it's incredible. And it was literally like a 3-month boom shift.
Yeah, and they really pivoted. Speaking of pivoted, because you like you said, you've done all these major life changes at once. You moved, got a new job.
Yeah.
There's only a couple left, man, and we're not putting any of those pressure on you on the show. But you guys are back in town starting May 25th for another sort of 2-week homestand, it looks like. First of all, how are you liking the scheduling of these sort of, seems like longer homestands before? Is it helping you guys or is it hurting?
There's 2 ways to look at it. One, from the team operation, what an incredible savings, really. I mean, saving, and I'm talking money, I'm talking travel, I'm talking time, I'm everything. This new format works out so incredibly well for that. I heard one team, and I can't remember who it was the other day, but one team said they shaved like 1,200 miles of travel off with this new format because you're playing teams closer to you more frequently. And then the teams that are further away, like for us in our league in the High A Central, we've got Cedar Rapids. We've got some teams out over in Wisconsin and places like that. They're not easy to get to from Michigan. We're not really going to those places. We're playing, the Great Lakes Loons. We're playing the West Michigan Whitecaps. We're playing, Dayton, teams like that, Lake County, which is over in Cleveland, who is here now. But so the travel has become significantly less, and it's going to be less stress on the players. It's going to be, everything, you name it, the budgets. So that's really great. As far as our side of the fence, like where we're more concerned with the business op, it's really cool because now Monday's an off day, and notoriously across the country, I don't care where you're at, Monday is just going to be dead. So that day is off the schedule, which is beautiful. And then you're guaranteed every homestand, you're guaranteed a Friday, you're guaranteed a Saturday. So then you're not fighting with other teams when the schedule comes out in an unbalanced schedule saying, hey, why is so-and-so getting 7 Fridays and we're getting 5, and we've got 8 Sundays and they've got 4, or whatever the case may be.
Right.
So this is very balanced. It's very fair across the board that way. And it gives you your big nights, and it guarantees you your big nights, because in the past, we might have been home, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, and been on the road Friday, Saturday, Sunday.
Yeah.
But now that's not the case. So, we love it. We really do. And quite frankly, I'll give this week as an example. We've pulled tarp on Tuesday. Well, actually, we pulled it Monday. But we played with the tarp on Tuesday. We got lucky Wednesday. We pulled tarp yesterday. We're looking at tarp again today. So when we're on the road for 6 straight days, you better believe we're going to be using those for some extra rest, some, just some refresh, because it's tough. It's tough working those games. So having the long road trips behind it, it makes it easier. You don't want to go 6 or 12 games and then only have 3 off. It's just, not a lot of people can go through that, that grind.
I tell you what, man, just from this conversation that has been a breezy 20 minutes when I think I asked you for 10, I think you're the kind of guy that can get anybody to do anything. And that's a real mark. Oh, man. Zac, thanks so much for jumping on the show, and good luck to the Lugnuts. And we'll check in with you guys a little bit later on in the season.
Absolutely. Thank you so much.
Let's Get To presents Inside the Tackle Box, fishing for baseballs with the Corpus Christi hooks.
We are excited to be back in the tackle box with Amy Johnson of the Corpus Christi hooks. Now, Amy, Memorial Day weekend is this weekend. I want to talk a little bit about what you guys are doing to recognize Memorial Day and recognize a certain piece of military history in Corpus Christi.
Yeah, so we are doing our annual Blue Ghost weekend. So the Blue Ghost is a tribute to the USS Lexington, which you can see actually out in right field here in Corpus Christi. So what we're doing is we're rebranding. So we're renaming ourselves the Blue Ghost for the weekend. And this will actually be the 3rd year we're doing it. So we did it in 2018 and 2019, and we had an original logo. And then we were set to release our new logo and uniforms, as you see here, last year, but we had to push that. So we have the same logos for it, but we took a new color approach to it. So the color is called Battleship Gray, is what you see like in the script. And then it's a dark graphite is what we went for. So we'll be rebranding. We'll be wearing that all weekend. So Friday, Saturday, Sunday. We've got 2 fireworks shows. So we're doing fireworks on Friday and Sunday. Which is really cool. And we've got a couple giveaways, of course, but we partner with the Lexington on all this stuff, and they're great. Like they're a nonprofit as well. So it's really cool, the community. And also we're partnering with the USO of South Texas here. So in the past, in 1819, we did a batting practice event on top of the Lexington. So of course, with COVID and everything like that, there's still some protocols in place. So we can't utilize players for outside events right now, but we still wanted to do that event. And so I was like, okay, what can we do? How can we work with the community? So what we're doing is we're working with Sarah over at the USO South Texas. She's awesome. And we're getting active military members, and they're going to be doing the batting practice instead, which I think is really cool. It's the first time we're doing it. We had a few of them out last year as kind of like a bonus thing. We're like, hey, let's just make this a event for military. So we're still going to be doing the event, but without players. So that'll be on that Saturday morning too. So loaded weekend.
No kidding. And that's, well, first of all, that's awesome. How important is it for you guys to maintain the connection with Lexington and, basically keep, Texas, we're very proud of our service as a state. How important is it to keep that connection with the brand of the hooks?
Yeah, it's really important to us. Obviously, we are still one of the teams that we do a military recognition every night. So in the 5th inning, we'll do a hats off, recognize military. We do that. And that's like a basic thing. So it's like, how can we do more? Even we have all of our other promotions and things like that. So basically what we do is take this promotion and make sure it focuses on that. So the USS Lexington has been great. Like they're such a staple of Corpus. I know we've got a few people on staff, and they said like every year in like grade school growing up, like that's where they went on field trips and everything like that. So we just love that partnership, and they're like a staple. We're a staple of like tourism and everything down there. So I think it's great when we can like work together on them with them for that.
I know I'm even bring my own grandkids to see the Lex this year before taking them to see you guys. Real quick, that's what we're doing for Memorial Weekend. What else do we have planned? How's the season gone so far? Have you liked the sort of chunk schedule that you're playing with this sort of on for 10 or whatever it is, and then on the road? How's that gone?
Yeah, it's been a little tricky. So 3 out of the first 4 weeks of the season, we've actually been home. So we only had 1 week without games. And I'm telling you, that week flew by because we were doing everything to prepare for May. But it was actually like just today that I remembered like, oh yeah, our June tickets go on sale this week. So we're going to be, so like we just released that. So those are going to be on sale for doing a pre-sale starting this weekend. And then next week they'll be on sale for the public. So it's like we were so focused on like May, and now we're like, okay, we've got to do June. So it's been very interesting. The trickiest part has been planning like flight schedules with like TV, our media partners and stuff like that. I'm like, hey, like we don't have games for 2 weeks, but then we need to make sure we push the next 2 weeks. So we've been having like a creative efforts there, trying to figure out the best way to push that. But our attendance this past homestand has been great. Friday and Saturday have actually been our biggest days. It was bigger than our opening night. So I think people were just excited. Our masks are not mandatory anymore if you're vaccinated. So I think maybe people were just ready to start getting out and everything like that. But we had a really great turnout this past homestand.
Yeah, it's been really great to see that transition from no mask. I actually saw the Hooks in Frisco a few days after I saw you guys at home, and it was fun to see the team on the road. I'd not seen that before, but it's been nice to see things getting back to normal. Anything else that's big in June we need to know about before we have you on again? I mean, you guys just seem to keep upping the ante and keeping it interesting.
Yeah, so we actually do have Coastal Bend weekend, which is definitely our biggest thing to look forward to. And that will be June. I'm trying to look at my calendar, but it's the last weekend in June is when that is. So that'll be that Friday and Saturday. And 2019, every time I say last year, just assume it's 2019.
Exactly.
We did our first Coastal Bend weekend, and we did this cool logo with a famous pier that's down here, and it had a fish on it. So we are transforming that logo this year, and that will be our next big fun reveal. I know you probably got like one of every jersey that we have, but sneak peek, there's another one coming.
My wife her ears just perked up somewhere. She's like, what?
But yeah, so we just like a little like sneak preview. We took another part of the coast here that's really important, and what we're transforming that this year. So it'll be really fun, and we'll wear themed jerseys again that week, and we'll probably be releasing that the week of, but we're going to wait till we get closer to let that stuff go out.
Well, we'll schedule some time to have you on to talk about that. Real quick, then let everybody know where they can go to find their Blue Ghost gear. And I know tickets are still available.
Yeah. So cchooks.com/shop. These jerseys are hats, which I actually grabbed one so we can show those too. I brought the hats.
The hat is so good.
Yeah, it's very slick, and they look great. We just posted a video with the players wearing them, and they looked awesome. They looked really clean with the white pants too. So there's the original one.
There's the original. Yeah. So I definitely ordered one of each, one for display and one for my head, because I have a problem.
Yeah. But yeah, I'm sure we're going to be posting all week too about it. So you'll see stuff all the way now until probably through Monday, just pushing that stuff. But I would expect our jerseys and hats to go pretty quick, especially at our games this weekend.
That's why you got to order them now, everyone. She's Amy Johnson of the Corpus Christi Hooks. Amy, thanks again for jumping on Let's Get To, and we'll talk to you before your next big event.
Sounds good.
From the Bleachers, the Let's Get To Game of the Week.
In May of 2021, hidden in the trees of Sugarland, stands a monument to America's game, poised for one of the biggest days in its young history. But trouble looms around the corner in the form of 6 days of heavy rain. Hi, I'm Tim Jedgetts with Let's Get To. In the days leading up to May 20th, the fans waited as the rain poured to hear news of possible postponement or cancellation. But the baseball gods would see the weather pass, if only for the time it would take to play a game. Through the rain and trees emerges Constellation Field. 9 years ago, this hidden gem was one of the best kept secrets for Estonians. But today is different. Today, Constellation Field gets the full attention of the city of Houston. Today is the home opener of the 2021 Sugarland Skeeters. But this home opener is different. This is the first official home opener of the Sugarland Skeeters as the AAA affiliate to the Houston Astros. This intimate park spent the winter being renovated and renewed to welcome the stars that will one day walk its halls. But it did maintain the friendly small park feel with a capacity of 7,500 spectators. And the staff and regulars of Constellation Field welcome all the new onlookers with the same hospitality and joy that they have welcomed new fans from before. As tonight's opponent, the El Paso Chihuahuas, take batting practice, we make our way around the concourse to take in the new features and familiar staples of Constellation Field. Not even game time, and the Bud Light Ice House in right center field is already serving patrons in a mild Texas day. Then we take an up-close and personal look at the giant Texas scoreboard located in center field. As you can see, it turned out to be a pretty perfect day for baseball, and warm enough for a dip in the pool pavilion. As the crowd builds, so does the excitement for both new and seasoned Skeeter fans. And the good news, the wait is almost over. The players start to stretch out and get ready for game time. But first, a visit from some old friends. The Skeeters mascot Swatson is joined today by Houston Astros mascot Orbit, and the fans begin to settle down as both team rosters are announced. For the first time, the AAA affiliated Sugarland Skeeters take the field, and the crowd is ready for the first pitch. The new spectators were in for a treat to see some good minor league baseball. Both teams look to be in good form. And then a surprise visitor to our section. It was Orbit. And Swatson was not far behind, allowing autographs and pictures. The weather held up and we got a perfect evening at the park, with fireworks and all. If you ever find yourself in Sugarland or Houston, make a trip to Constellation Field to catch a game. There'll be plenty of fun and excitement for the whole family. Until next time,
Go Skeeters!
Show me the merch. The best from the pro shop.
All right, so we are back here on Show Me the Merch. We are out front of the Buzz stop. As you can see, I've already hooked up with a Flex Fit 3930, and then I got another 3930 that I'll show you here. I was supposed to be doing this segment with Andy Tom Chesson, but I do not know where he went. There is a gift shop, and he has money, so I'm assuming that's a bad thing. So we both also got this really sweet hat, and then I'm going to show off what Andy got because he really fell down on the job here. We also got, he got the 5950 of the on-field alternative and the 5950 of just the logo cap, and we'll get you some good photos of that. But we're having a great time out here. They've done a lot to kind of bring a different kind of merch to the ballpark. You're seeing it all over the place. It's been just an absolute blast to see everybody buying new gear, celebrating. If I can get the cameraman real quick, Tim, just shoot a pan of everybody that's out here at the ballpark right now. This place is full. The place is packed. It's jumping. And, you know, we're sitting here on May 20th, and it is absolutely a beautiful night at the ballpark. And I'm really, really excited about the fact. I'm really excited. Oh, that's a nice 360 move, by the way. We're about to be the first purchasing of the new AAA. Who wants to be it?
Doesn't matter.
So we have Grace and Nathaniel. First of all, how excited are you guys to be back for baseball? Excited to be part of the Astros. All right, we're going to go with Grace can ring me up, and then we will see where we're going to end up. All right, we got a T-shirt. What else we got?
3930.
Got it.
And the home and the road.
Love it, love it, love it. So I'm going to beep that out for when my wife watches the show. And here it goes. My dancing is awesome. Yeah, so anyway, we're having a great time out here tonight. It is about 80 degrees, which Houston, Texas in the middle of the May, I would cut off a finger to have that temperature. But we're having a blast out here. We are just so excited to be seeing all the people out here. Look, Tim, we got the Skeeter Bites over there. We got people lined up to get food. We have got all kinds of great stuff. And so we're really looking for Andy Tom Chesson, though, my co-host for this segment, my fellow gear nut. Where is Andy Tom Chesson? Is coming this way, actually. Ladies and gentlemen, Andy Tom Cheston. Andy, what have you found? Andy, are these Sugarland Skeeters Astros rainbow jerseys? Now, talk about
Why come to the ballpark if you can't get a shirt?
right. Well, let me get mine on.
Sorry, I have to adjust.
Do we look fantastic, or do we look fantastic?
I mean, these are pretty sharp, and I think this is emblematic of the upgrade to the merchandise they have here at Constellation Field this year.
Yeah. I love that we totally impromptu'd you buying a jersey. I didn't awkwardly stall at all for the majority of this segment.
Holler and a Swaller, a chug of Ballpark brew, presented by The Hitter Sports.
So we are back here on Holler and a Swaller, presented by The Hitter Sports. Make sure you are following The Hitter Sports on Twitter. He's got a lot of fun takes on both baseball, the Yankees, and really lots of things. He's a blast to follow. But we are all together for the first time that we've done this segment in the history of the show.
That's right.
Rarely, yeah.
It's a threesome.
We're having a threesome on camera, everyone.
It's going to get weird.
It's going to get real weird. But we're up here in the Insperity Club, which is a really cool spot up here in Constellation Field. First of all, talk a little bit about just the vibe of what we've been seeing out here so far.
Well, I think it's a great opening night. I think you've got a crowd that is super excited to be the AAA affiliate of the Houston Astros, and they've come out and really shown that kind of excitement on top of your normal opening day cheer that you see all around. So I think it's a real good environment, and a lot of people having a lot of fun tonight.
Tim? Exactly right. I think it's a perfect storm. You had people that haven't watched baseball in a long time, and now the Astros affiliation coming out here. It's just fun. I mean, we're having a great time out there. I'm sitting in the lower bowl, and it's great.
We fancy.
You guys are bougie.
We're bougie up here.
Sweet. And I mean sweet.
We are sweet. We do have a couple of local breweries that we're going to try out. We're going to start with one of our favorite brews. We've actually featured these guys on the show before. Texas Leaguer, out of just outside of Houston. First of all, we should pour one into my mouth for the Texas League, which no longer exists. But I've got the 2-hopper, which is their India Pale Ale. Tim, what do you have from Texas Leaguer?
I'm having the blonde ale today. It's called Airmail. Super delicious.
And Andy, you've got from
and from closer to my house in middle of Houston, from the Carbach Brewery, Love Street, which is a Kolsch style blonde ale.
First of all, I love the fact that we can all get things that are not Bud Light at a ballpark.
It's kind of wonderful.
So I hope everybody gets out here. Everybody, holler and a swaller, baby.
Holler and a swaller.
GoGo Astros, a focus on H-Town hardball.
All right, so we are out here for a special live-ish edition of GoGo Astros.
With the GoGo AAA affiliate.
With the GoGo AAA affiliate. You know, we're recording this on, this is always such a weird, we're recording on Thursday. The bullpen didn't blow another one, but I want to talk a little bit about.
They tried.
They tried their best.
Tried.
Yeah, it had people waiting for Luke Gregerson and what's his name to punch himself. Tony Sipp, bring him back. Talk to me about why it's beneficial and advantageous for the Astros to put their AAA so close to the parent club.
I mean, there's a couple of reasons. First of all, just geographically speaking, we're 30 miles away from Minute Maid Park here in Constellation Field in Sugarland. And so just the expediency of having the major league staff that close, having AAA call-ups that close, having the AAA prospects being able to have that coaching, have the front office come look at them a little bit more often than they could, say, if they were in Round Rock or Oklahoma City or someplace farther away than that. Just benefits the players, makes it a more attractive place for people to play. And frankly, at AAA, you do have a lot of guys who are on that bubble of being major leaguers, so they are looking for a place that has exposure, that has a little bit of extra attention.
We got asked by fans earlier before we did this as to where are the top prospects. Can you maybe explain to people kind of how that works as far as how teams manage their minor leagues teams?
So every organization's a little bit different, but the way the Astros do it, and I think for the majority this will be a real generalization kind of statement, your top prospects are going to spend most of their time in AA, and then they're going to make that leap to the majors. And the ones that don't succeed initially in the major leagues, they're the ones that you find populating your AAA roster. So your AAA roster, and it's exemplified here in Sugarland, are guys that have had a taste of the major leagues and have things to work on. like Taylor Jones, like Jose Siri, guys that couldn't catch on somewhere else and are looking for another opportunity with an organization, again, like Jose Siri and Alex DeGotti and a couple of other guys. And so you look at a guy like our Cuban prospect, whose name just ran on my head, Pedro Leon. He's not in AAA. He's in AA because he's getting that level of attention against, frankly, better pitching than he's going to see in AAA. And so that's kind of where that division lies. And then you have your single A teams, high and low. And I'm not real sure how those are really shaking out now, other than you see your college guys drafted going to high, your high school guys going to low, unless they have some really extraordinary talent or advancement.
Not having short season anymore
You don't
really
have
throws
that.
all of that,
No rookie
all of that
league.
out. We'll talk a little bit about the Astros real quick while I have you here. They just finished up taking 2 or 3 from Oakland.
Right.
It does seem like when they are not recovering or beginning to deal with COVID, they are owning the division. We can assume they're going to do okay against Arlington. Is this the Astros team you think we're going to see? And as we get closer into that trade deadline talk, what do you think they need to do?
I think that's absolutely the team you're going to see. And I think today's game, which was the third game, rubber match, the Astros won 8-3. I think they're 8-4, excuse me, was the final score. It's a team that's going to hit the ball and hit the ball well. They're going to get on base. They're going to score runs. And they're showing the ability to score runs without hitting home runs every inning. The downside is also what you're going to see, what you saw this last series. Our bullpen is suspect. It is going to be an adventure every time you get into them, up until you start seeing Stanek and Presley, and even Stanek's come back to earth just a little bit from his really hot start. And so every time you see the bullpen guys come out, you're going to hold your breath a little bit unless there's a huge lead, which is how we won today, able to keep tacking on runs. I think the other weakness that the Astros have, and you talked about places that they need to look to upgrade possibly through trades before the trade deadline, is center field. And I'm not picking on Miles Straw or Chas McCormick, but I think they are absolutely demonstrating that they're AAA or quadruple A guys, if you'll forgive the parlance, who might be good fourth outfielders, and Straw is probably maxed out on his ability as an everyday player. I think there are going to be some opportunities to find somebody who can provide more consistent defense and a little bit more consistent offense. Although I will say, to Straw's credit, he is hitting about 360 over the last few games.
Yeah, see, I think I want to say he is 4 for his last 6.
Yeah.
Including 4 straight at bats. Well, when I think about the bullpen, the one thing I think I need to do a lot is,
I like when the segments merge.
All right, that'll wrap that up.
Hi, everybody. This is Tim from Let's Get To. Now, over the years, James and all the other contributors of the show have done a great job of taking you to countless ballparks all around the country. Now we've shown you what's special about these parks, the people that work there, and what makes it fun to come out there. But we thought of something one day, and it kind of dawned on us that, you know what we haven't featured? We've featured tons of beer and all this stuff. And the reason we thought of this, maybe because of the tons of beer. But we haven't featured the food. Now, ballpark food is special. It's unique. From the tiniest hot dog that comes with your beer to that very special bowl of nachos that comes in your favorite team's tiny little helmet. Right, Cedric? So it's my pleasure to kind of introduce a new segment, and we're going to call Let's Get To of That. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take you, as me and Parstar go, to try all the food that makes that park special, what their feature items are, and people that make it. When I can't get to a ballpark, I'm going to take you into my home kitchen, and we're going to recreate some ideas of good ballpark food that you can try at home or for game day. So, without further ado, we're here at Sugarland's Constellation Field, to the home of the Sugarland Skeeters, to try some of their great food here in the Disparity Club. The ballpark, where they have a nice buffet ready for us to try. So, come on. Okay, so you saw all the great stuff they have to offer to the Insperity Club here at Constellation Field. What I went with the prime rib, some baby carrots, and the mashed potatoes. It's a little fancy for baseball park food, but we'll see what happens, huh? Oh, that's good. All right, so next time we'll see you at, I think, Omaha is where we're going to see you next here on Let's Get To of That.
From the Bleachers, the Let's Get To Game of the Week.
Hi, I'm Andrew Nelson with Let's Get To. I recently made a trip out to CHS Field, home of the St. Paul Saints in the Lower Town neighborhood of St. Paul, Minnesota. As you walk up to the gates, you'll notice that the field almost appears from nowhere as it's sunken into the side of the river bluff that makes up part of St. Paul's topography. Walking around the concourse, you'll notice multiple nods to local baseball history. Monument Pork memorializes some of the prominent ball pigs of seasons past, and the City of Baseball Museum tells the history of professional baseball in St. Paul. It covers everything from the first Saints of the late 1800s to the city's black baseball past, to the old affiliated Saints and Minneapolis Millers, and the independent Saints of the 1990s and early 2000s. CHS Field has a wraparound concourse so that fans can move about freely and take in the game from any angle they choose. At an official capacity of just over 7,200, it's also on the small side for a AAA stadium, and fans are never far from the action. Besides great baseball, you can expect to see many in-game rituals at CHS Field. Dragging the infield takes on a whole new meaning with the grounds crew dressed in dresses or Reagan costumes. The PA announcer will periodically call out a deadpan to announce the overflight of a passing aircraft. This is a nod to an old Midway Stadium tradition of calling out passing trains. And in the seventh inning stretch, peanuts and other snacks are tossed from the press box to the excited fans below. These are just some of the many fun experiences that you can have at St. Paul's CHS Field.
Who's on first? The Let's Get To Local 9, brought to you by Zoomer Sport.
So we're excited to jump on to Let's Get To and be joined by Reagan Kneese from the Houston Gamblers. Another part of that Sandlot Revolution. We had the Cap City Cobras on the show a few weeks ago. Reagan, first of all, how's it going? How are things in Houston right now?
Hey, well, Jim, thanks for having me on and coming out and watching us a few weeks ago. That was a blast to kind of get introduced, and thank you kind of bringing Sandlot to the broader audience. But no, Houston is trudging along. It's I have traffic again.
Yeah.
I which is not fun. I had to sit through 2 cycles through a red light the other day, and I'm already saying that's unacceptable.
Yeah. Some parts of the pandemic maybe we should keep. Tell me a little bit about yourself, though. Your history with the game of baseball, why you love it, and why you continue to play it. They say that you don't get old. You don't quit playing baseball because you get old. You get old when you quit playing baseball. So you must be like 19. So how does all this work?
Well, that's a great quote. So I'm from the Houston area, born and raised. Really the times I've kind of spent outside of Houston is because of baseball, but I grew up doing Little League here, played at Lamar High School here. I got a taste of college baseball at University of South Carolina, which was at that time I think it was 1995, 96 timeframe. So a big step out of my comfort zone to travel there. It was an awesome experience. But I mean, to give you an idea of how close I got to actually being on the field, my jersey had the wrong name on it. So if a guy named Scotty Strong actually follow and listens to this podcast, I'm sorry about that. He'd gotten cut, and they just gave me his jersey, and I said that's a signal. So kids would come up and get my autograph just because I had a jersey on, and they would see I'm signing it something different, and they'd be like, "Mom," So it was so I got to have a sense of humor about baseball very quickly.
Yeah.
And then it just kind of petered out from there. The competition outstripped my abilities, and I but I like baseball in all forms. I truly do. And you kind of play around softball or whatever, but I came across this kind of idea of having more fun as you get older with the sport through Sandlot. There was an article in Garden and Gun in May of 2014.
Okay.
I can't believe it was that long ago. But I wish I had it here, but there's just a picture of the Playboys on there, and it's Jack Sanders, who this is his idea, and a few other members of the team, and they're just looking hip and cool. And I didn't even need to read the article. I was like, these guys are my style. Like, this is my speed. I need to find out more. I sent it around to my friends, who I kind of figured right off the bat would be right into this. And at first they're kind of like, I don't kind of get it. What is this? And then someone goes, Jack is the brother-in-law of one of our lifelong friends. So it's just a real easy kind of conversation to go have with Jack and kind of see what this is all about. And, everything he was saying was, just kind of perfect. I would ask him, is there a league headquarters? Is there stats? And he's like, no. It quickly became apparent, like, the idea was for us to build it to fit our community.
Yeah.
Hopefully something that has like historical basis within Houston, hence the Gamblers, and we can jump into that. And I think you see, like, really, Cap City Cobras are a great example of, like, people who took it by the reins and make it their own, and it doesn't have to fit within a definition. And I think you see a lot of cool examples about that.
We'll talk a little bit about the Gamblers then. Like, why, for those who don't know, the Gamblers are a former USFL team. Although I'm a Houston born and bred guy, they were the only football team stationed in Houston I ever rooted for.
Oh.
So I was raised a Cowboys fan somehow. I don't know how that happened. Although Astros all the way, as people who listen to the show know. But why that look? And then second question, there's video of you from a few episodes ago taking hacks in a football helmet. Explain that too.
Well, so like I said, you want to find something that has some sort of like local historical roots, but also has some style to it. And you see examples of people kind of bringing back the older minor league teams that may have come and gone within communities. You see the Austin Senators, the Houston Buffs. These are examples, kind of easy to reborn. They have awesome styles to it. But it was honestly the football aspect of it, and the kind of silliness of what the USFL was, and it was just a cool logo.
It's a cool logo. It's so cool.
Yeah, it's a great logo. It looks good on a baseball uniform. Some of our uniforms are more the button down, like traditional one has that logo on the kind of left hand shoulder, and you can make your uniform off a USFL. Like, you can go to eBay and build your own uniform off just collector stuff.
Yeah.
I tell a lot of my players, like, I'm flat out. I don't have any more uniforms or hats. Like, here's an eBay link, and they'll just go down a rabbit hole and come up with some really cool memorabilia. Like, actually, I have my belt buckle for the team is something I just yanked off eBay.
Yeah.
It's just another way to have some fun with it's a costume, really.
Yeah. And you did draw a walk in the helmet when I saw you up in at the long time. So it's not like it's hurting your vision.
Yeah, I was really surprised. I thought this was going to be a problem, and I think I went and eBayed like a old vintage football helmet, and like I said, there's emblems, like helmet emblems you can put on from the old gamblers days that still exist. So I just ordered those, threw it on the helmet, spray painted it, and in a very Sandlotty type of way, like you and just and wanted to see where it went, and it's been a hit. It's people get a kick out of it. So if I can show people it's okay to be silly, yet try to take something fractionally serious, that's great.
Part of with the show, the mission of the show is that we're always looking for what we call the soul of baseball. And I think, Rob Manfred, excuse me, has done his best to rip the soul out of our city's baseball team, to save, if you believe some of the conspiracy theorists, I do, to save the face of the rest of the 29. And what he's done in the minor leagues. It's been really hard to find. Why is it important? Or why do you, like, when I got to go up to my first game at the Long Time, and it was the Hardininos versus, I don't remember who else, but it felt like I had gotten connected with the game again in a time I hadn't seen it in a while. Why do you think this Sandlot thing is growing, and why do you think it's important as far as keeping the game alive?
That is a great point. And I think it kind of goes back to like what I saw on that article, and it just took a picture, and you connect to that childhood. We all still have that kind of childhood spazziness within us that we want to keep. We always try to find, we all have these new responsibilities, kids, jobs, what have you. But it's funny how quickly we will go from like a moth to a flame on something that connects us back to our youth. In a Long Time, and what the Playboys have established, and the results speak for itself, do that. When I started calling around and saying, could I just find 9 weird guys to put a together team and get the Sandlot thing rolling in Houston? It took me much longer than I thought, but I knew if I got them out at the Long Time, it was done. Like, they would be in for life. And our first game was 2017, right after Harvey.
Oh wow, yeah.
And there's a more established Sandlot team in Houston called the Gulf Coast Sugar. So the Playboys are really smart. They try to get a few of the Houston teams to come up on the same day. We'll do like a doubleheader versus the Austin teams. But I hadn't met a lot of these guys, and they made a fundraiser out of that event for Harvey. And it was just such a clear signal, like this is more about community, and kind of getting back to some roots when people would have to, neighbors would connect up with each other and help each other out a little bit and have some fun doing it. The whole barnstorming idea about baseball is where largely Jack, this was born out of when he was in Newborn, Alabama. And to a T, every one of the guys I had out there, they would call me on the drive home. Everybody had to get back to their responsibilities, kids, babysitters, a lot of day trips up and back from Houston. And they just said that they hadn't had that much fun in decades.
That's the thing that comes across, is watching you guys have a good time. There was a moment the first game we saw where a dude got hit and he's walking to first and he yells at the opposing pitcher, "I know you didn't hit me on purpose." And a teammate, the third baseman, said, "But it'd be badass if he did." And everybody laughed. I thought that's what it felt like to me. It comes across.
It is very much that you have that, like, we're here to have fun since kind of the moment you arrive, and they've built this atmosphere that's just kind of contagious to people who go out. Like there was probably 200 people there at the game that we had a few weeks ago, and a lot of those folks, they bought season tickets like yourself, and they want to make sure they can make as many of these events are kid friendly. They invite the crowd to get involved in it.
Yeah.
I've developed friendships with people on the other teams, almost immediately through that first game. And, we keep in touch. You want to support a lot of their ventures. You saw obviously a lot of the Playboys and some of the guys in Austin are doing super creative, fun projects. They're either making movies or they. I think there was I think Amy Cook had her art on display there, and we're all there to kind of support each other on different like small business ventures too. So there is just a very much bootstrap, get back to your roots feeling about it, which a lot of people, that's why movies like Field of Dreams or Long Gone or or The Natural are still they're rewatchable.
Yeah. How much of the MLB do you keep up with, and who's your team?
Astros all the way.
Do you believe it's possible that Dusty Baker just doesn't think he has other members of the bullpen besides Brooks? I'm just kidding. Sorry. We're recording this after the very painful loss to the Oakland Athletics.
Yep.
Last night. That was painful.
Little mismanagement on the bullpen side. But yeah, I follow baseball really in all forms. Really, I think I took the kids to two Astros games last weekend. Schedule be damned. I try to make those games, and it's obviously it's a fun team. Get the kids hooked early. I guess is one way to put it. But college, I follow that. I mean, maybe just because I played a little bit. But that game, we have just so much access to sports now.
It's hard not to get fired up.
Yeah.
Well, speaking of access, how can people find out about the Gamblers? Where can we go to track you guys, find out about your games, all that stuff?
Sure. One of the really cool things about the Sandlot group is that they're extremely active on social media. So we have most everybody has an Instagram page. I think we're, Gamblers Baseball at Gamblers Baseball. The Texas Playboys have a phenomenal Instagram page and a great website. Just Google Texas Playboys and Texas Playboys Baseball, and that will get you the schedule. That will give you access to, getting season tickets, supporting the local charities that they're trying to promote, which is, like I said, is a huge part of that. They have a ton of information about what they're trying to do, even just beyond baseball. And again, that's kind of the cool thing about it. If it was just about baseball, I don't think it would have the same impact on people as it has.
Yeah, no, I think you're exactly right. He is Reagan Kneese of the Houston Gamblers, the Sandlot baseball team out of H-Town. Reagan, thanks so much for jumping on Let's Get To.
Thank you guys for having us. See you out there.
And now, on to close it out, the right-hander from Houston, Texas, James Christopher.
So that does wrap up this episode of Let's Get To. As you can see, we have had a beautiful night and a beautiful time out here in Sugarland, Texas, Constellation Field, home of the AAA affiliate of the Houston Astros. Again, great night. We want to congratulate our friends at the Sugarland Skeeters for, again, stepping up to AAA and really pulling it off and doing a great job. We got a great episode for you coming next week. It's our Memorial Day episode, so tune in. So until next time, make sure you get some peanuts, some Cracker Jack, and let's get to.